Young people in this country cannot hear enough of the dubious call that they should not be job seekers, they should be job creators. This is a tired tagline that has become the mantra of the clueless and corrupt Jubilee ODM government, especially when they are challenged as to why youth unemployment keeps rising. I find this call fairly inane, typical of the leadership of the day for more reasons than one. Most importantly, it fails to recognize a fact that is the stuff of economics 101, and that is people do not create jobs. The economy does. If young people are not getting jobs, do not claim to fix them. They are not the problem. People do not create jobs. The economy does. My concern, though, is, as stupid as this claim is, there is a good reason why government is happy to keep pushing it down the throats of the youth. And I will tell you why. Welcome. This is Matters Arising. If you have not had the tired call to the youth that they should be job creators and not job seekers, then you've been away from this country too long. While you are away, the government promised young people jobs in the millions, and after 7 years in power, more youth than ever are unemployed. The rest are either misemployed or underemployed. What has been the government's response to this crisis? They proposed to give the youth small money to start small businesses. The biggest claim is that the youth should be job creators and not job seekers. This, to me, is a seemingly very cynical way of dealing with a very serious problem facing our youth. First, those who sing this song from the rooftops are themselves employed, mostly by the same government that was supposed to create the jobs and hasn't done so, and now shifts that responsibility to the young people. How convenient. If it is that simple to be job creators, and if it is a solution to the unemployment crisis among our youth, why are these crusaders still employed and still preaching to the unemployed youth to be job creators? Secondly, when they said they will create 1 million jobs, or whatever figure they gave, it was a direct admission that establishment of an expanding economy for job creation is the responsibility of government. So, when did the burden of responsibility change so that the youth are the ones supposed to create their own jobs? My greatest concern in this episode is the sheer fallacy of the statement that youth should be job creators and not job seekers. The statement is not just cynical, it is wrong, almost stupid. People do not create jobs, the economy does. And driving economic policy and productivity is the job of governments all over the world. So that those government murderers employed by government, gallivanting around telling the youth to create jobs, should know or ought to know that making sure that the economy is producing high quality jobs is the primary responsibility of government. Because Kenya is a land of impunity, government fails to do its job and shifts the blame on the victims of its ineptitude. In countries with responsible and accountable leadership, you will never hear such a stupid argument like create your own jobs. If you follow political campaigns of such countries, you will notice the emphasis on economic performance for job creation, because sensible politicians understand that people do not create jobs, the economy does. The problem of unemployment will thus not be fixed by the unemployed. It will be fixed by a functional economy and an accountable government. I know that they will at once jump on something even vaguer that they call the Big Four and claim that manufacturing is one of the main agendas with the intention of job creation. Don't get me started on the Big Four, because this is another big lie from the clueless Jubilee ODM government that has taken us nowhere and is taking us nowhere. I agree, though, we have experienced the Big Four agenda of the Jubilee government, and I can confirm that healthcare, manufacturing, housing, and food security have absolutely nothing to do with our experience as Kenyans. It exists in the deluded minds of the same guys who are telling the youth to create their own jobs. The Big Four that we have experienced ever since that unfortunate day when Jubilee took power are theft, debt, taxes, and bullshit. But then I digress. I think I'll have to do an independent episode on the Big False agenda. The question is, why would government push such an obviously flawed policy regarding job creation? And is this an innocent lie, some political gimmick that has no serious effect on the youth? The second question first. Is there real harm to be done to young people through this lie, or is it an innocent political gimmick? The answer is that there are dire consequences for young people who fall for this lie and try to build businesses or create jobs in an economy that is not growing, imagining that it is their responsibility to do so. It is not. But worse still, if you try to play Mr. Job Creator in a constricting and unresponsive economy, you will fail. The economy can be very unforgiving, especially for small-scale entrepreneurs who do not have the business networks and support structures that most businesses need to succeed. The economy will chew you up and spit you out. Even in a growing economy, business mortality is still pretty high, and attempting to go into business in a ravaged economy like the one served to us by the Jubilee ODM government is a recipe for disaster. I am not saying that entrepreneurship is impossible. I am just saying if you do it the Jubilee way, calling yourself Mr. Job Creator, you will fail. But then again, I digress. I will do a separate series on entrepreneurship. And this leads me to the answer for the first question. Why would government espouse such a stupid idea onto the youth? The answer is self-preservation. They know that most revolutions are born out of economic grievances rather than political ones. In Kenya, and with the opening up of political space, there wouldn't be sufficient political grounds to cause a popular uprising. There, however, are sufficient economic grounds to cause a popular uprising, and top of this is youth unemployment. You will recall that the whole of the Arab Spring began on 18th December 2010 in Tunisia, sparked by the 1984 born Tarek El-Tayeb Mohamed Bouazizi, a street vendor. He set himself on fire protesting the confiscation of his wares and the harassment and humiliation that he reported was inflicted on him by a municipal official and his aides. As I wrote way back in July 2016, in Kenyan language, the revolution that has come to be known as the Arab Spring was started by a young sufferer, hawker, protesting harassment from Kanjo. Many other revolutions have their genesis in economic grievances, and the Jubilee ODM government knows that. If there is a danger to them and their inept and corrupt regime, it is the economic disenfranchisement of the young people. It is simply the stuff that revolutions are made of. So, the call to the youth to be job creators and not job seekers is well choreographed bullshit to shift the blame to the victims. What Jubilee is telling you is that it is your fault that you do not have a job. You are supposed to create one. What happens when this message is sufficiently relayed to the youth is that instead of getting angry at the government for a poor economy that is not creating quality jobs, they get angry at themselves. They feel guilty that they have not created the jobs they are supposed to. Well, I have some news for you. It is not your fault that you are unemployed. Do not feel guilty about it. It is the fault of a clueless, thieving government. Instead of building a strong economy to produce good quality jobs, they have delivered the big false agenda the last 7 years: theft, debt, taxes, and bullshit. As a result, the economy is on its knees and it cannot produce any jobs for you. If you're angry, it should not be at yourself. It should be at the responsibility bearers, the government of Kenya. They don't want you to realize this, so they double in the usual bullshit that you are supposed to create jobs. Well, people don't create jobs. The economy does. After 5 years of the plunder and mismanagement of the economy, the Jubilee government came up with some cock and bull story of Big Four agenda. In their first term, they had defined the parameters of the agenda: theft, debt, taxes, and BS. Nothing smacks of BS than their call that youth should be job creators and not job seekers. Those making the call from the rooftops are themselves employed mostly by the same government. They conveniently forget that people do not create jobs, the economy does. When a government plunders and mismanages the economy, the youth will not get jobs, much less create them. But as cynical as it sounds, this call is not a stupid or an idle one. The government mandarins know that economic disenfranchisement is a basis for popular revolution throughout history. The call to the youth is therefore meant to make them guilty about their own situation and absolve government from responsibility. It's BS that suits them well. The youth should hold the government responsible for the inability of the economy to produce jobs and refuse the narrative that it's somehow their fault. It's not. People do not create jobs. The economy does. For Matters Arising, I am Professor Wainaina.